like to call a meeting to order. Please join me to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Secretary, please call the roll.
Chairman Judd.
Here.
Commissioner Scutini.
Here.
Machado is absent. Meyer.
Here.
Houston.
Here.
Martinez.
Here.
I am here. Commissioner Sunseri is excused absence this evening. Perfect.
You said Sunzeri is, she said she wouldn't be here?
Yes.
Okay. We haven't heard from Gordon.
Oh,
There's Gordon? Okay. Good.
from absent to charge.
Okay. Okay.
This one. Is that yours? Yes.
Okay.
That's what I had the same kind.
Verification of agenda posting?
Yes.
The agenda for the Airport Advisory Commission is...
Sorry, I'll start over. The agenda for the Airport Advisory Commission of the City Hall regular meeting of August 24, 2016 was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on August 18th at 10 a.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Okay, thank you. For our consent agenda, we have commission minutes for June 22nd and August 1st. If no one has anything to discuss about those, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as.
Second.
That was, is that Robbie?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Robbie, Gordon. Okay, been moved and seconded to accept the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. This time is a time for public input for any topic relatively related to the airport, presumably, but that is not on the agenda. So are there any speaker cards, or does anyone have anything like to speak on?
I got nothing.
Nothing? Okay. Well, that's good. All right. Item 7A is budget.
We haven't had a meeting in a while. I'm just reporting the budget was approved in late June, and things are progressing out at the airport.
Got it?
That's it.
Any questions from the commission? Nope. All right. Item 7B is lease at 2000 Aerostar.
On August 1st, 2016, the City Council approved a lease at 2000 Aerostar, and the monthly amount of this lease will be $5,848, and it's a 30-year ground lease, or 35-year ground lease, I think. Sorry, it's 35-year. And then we get the building at the end of the lease. It's a 14,000 square foot hangar, right? Yeah, 14,000 square foot hangar and office thing. There's also a lease for a parking lot that goes along with it.
Okay. I see some painting of various things going on out there on the ground. Do we know when they might start to actually do something?
The plans are going to go back to the building department tomorrow, I was told, for their second check. So I would expect them to have a building permit in hand by the end of the month.
Okay. Any questions from anybody else?
Yeah, I thought they had that all hashed out already, no?
The building permit?
Yeah.
They've completed their first review. There were corrections on it, and they're just finishing up the corrections and going from there.
One quick question. It's more a clarification. Is that Z Aero or Aerostar?
The address is 2000 Aerostar.
Gotcha.
Any other questions, comments? Oh,
Nope.
all right. Item 7C, taxiway maintenance.
On August 8th this year, I was able to get the crew out there to finish crack sealing taxiway Alpha. So I can now report that all the taxiways have been crack sealed in preparation for the winter.
Okay.
My understanding, we had an issue with the taxiway in front of CDF.
We did.
Okay, that was handled and taken care of?
It was. Due to the Sobranes fire, they were bringing in a larger than normal aircraft, and the taxiway failed in front of them, in front of their base. As such, I've had to restrict them from bringing the large aircraft back to the airport, much to Dave's chagrin. We did conduct emergency repairs to get that taxiway fixed because our city engineers said it was going to fail imminently, and I didn't want it to fail when somebody was driving on it with a propeller. So that has been repaired. Since then, the aircraft has been back once. There's restrictions I put on CAL FIRE is if it is a life and death situation or people are in immediate danger, you guys do what you need to do and we'll fix what we got to fix. But aside from that, I prefer you not bring it in until we get this sorted out. Okay. I did provide CAL FIRE with the numbers to go ahead and replace that section of the taxiway up to the standards of the runway, which can handle this aircraft, and they've elected not to do that.
Okay.
So, and the reason why they came back in is I guess a fire broke out in Morgan Hill and it was threatening 13 homes, or 30 homes, so they brought that tanker in to do a couple quick drops to get to protect those houses, which I thought was a valid reason. So, and there was no damage, so we're good.
Would it be easier for them to taxi out to Bravo and then back taxi, or?
Not really. The issue kind of is the geometry and the way that the guy has to kind of grind the main gear to get turned
Make
around.
The turn. Okay.
The issue is not having the CAL FIRE air attack base that they signed a lease for in 2008 that's designed to handle this aircraft. We're going to talk about that later, actually.
Cool.
Well, he said we'll talk about it later. I'm not sure we're talking about the same thing. In the new lease with CAL FIRE across the runway, is that I guess that aircraft, is that part of their plans, or did the plans show that they would correct that situation in the new
Yes.
development?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on this one? Because we will be talking about it.
No.
Another one? Nope. Okay. That was all part of taxiway maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Item 8, old business. Item 8A is AIP Runway 1331 Reconstruction Project, Phase 1 letter and 2 complete.
Staff, excuse me, Phase 2 is complete. There are no outstanding items, so as soon as the warranty period's over, we'll issue the withholdings carryover. I can't remember the name right at the moment. I apologize. I'm sick today. So that is done. As for Phase 1, we met with interested parties last week, and a plan has been formed, and the appropriate divisions of the city are taking action.
Okay. I presume in Phase 2 being complete that there were no vendor issues that remain unresolved. That is, that they met the spec or whatever.
Yeah, they met the spec,
Yeah.
the whole project.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Any questions or comments on
No questions.
that topic? All right. Item 8B, Air Show 2016.
So at this point, I can report on the air show with numbers from finance. So our total attendance was 2,337 people. That is about 200 more than last year. Our revenues this year were $37,000. Our expenses were $56,000. For a total loss of $19,000.
What does that compare with last year?
The same. We did do a few things differently this year. We did radio advertising up in the Bay Area. That did change our demographics pretty substantially. The people that were taking demographics got a lot of comment. We advertised on KGO and KSFO, and I think The Bone, I think, was the other one. And I think it was good. I'm not sure we recouped our investment through the advertising, but it did garner a lot of attention. If we're to do this again, my intention would be to drop the television, local television advertising, and go strictly with radio advertising.
Did the city have comments about this?
The city council?
Yes.
I'll be reporting it to them on September 6th.
Oh, okay.
I always talk to you guys first.
Oh, okay.
Do you know offhand what the advertising was for the TV locally? Cost?
It was in the neighborhood of $6,000. And then the radio advertising was $8,000.
Okay.
So we actually increased our advertising substantially this year. Almost by double.
I guess I would say, though, that it sounds like we're still not making any headway.
I think we've established this is what an air show is going to cost. So the question is that an expense that the city wants to bear, the city wants the airport to bear, or the airport commission wants to bear. So I have the report to council. The reason why you don't have a report to council in front of you is the whole last part of it's not done. I'm waiting to hear what you say tonight before I write that last part of it. So that's why you don't have that report in front of you. But it works out to be about 2% of our budget, our revenues for the year. So the question is, is that a worthy endeavor for 2% of the airport's budget? I have my personal opinion. I think you can't buy the goodwill that we're getting out there, or you are buying it, but I think the goodwill we get out there eliminates so many problems the airport could be having that it's well worth doing it. You fly into South County, there's giant 4x8 sheets of plywood on the sides of the runway telling you the departure procedures to avoid noise because you can't fly over this house or that house or this house. I believe Salinas has pretty tight corridors that you can fly in for noise control. I know Santa Clara County has a fully funded job position to run down noise complaints at South County Airport and Reed Hillview. I don't think that's ever a place that we want to go. That's accomplished by several things. Number one, you don't build houses by the airport. We're doing a pretty good job about making sure that doesn't happen. Number two, you be a good neighbor to your community. And if that means we have a party out at the airport, we throw open the gates and let everybody come out and see the magic, then that's what it means. That's what I believe.
I agree with that. I don't think 2% of the budget is too much asked for goodwill and keep the public happy with what's going on out there. Be nice to get more people involved in the airport.
And the other thing I'm kind of looking at is we are starting to turn the airport. We're starting to get development at the airport. That could be good and it could be bad. So far, it's good. But if somebody decides that it's bad, then their protest could derail everything we've been working for.
Right.
And I've been working out there for years to get the runway done. I got the runway done. Now we're open for business. We have a product to sell. And that's what my focus is on selling that product. And I sold it to somebody for $5,848 a month. I made negotiations to another person. And we're not talking 1,000 operations or even 100 operations. These people will fly possibly 5 operations a month. So you're not there will be zero impact to anything. But we're going to start working on things. We're going to talk about a little bit, but the CAL FIRE project is huge, and I'll save that for that one. Can't wait to talk about that one. But anyway, those are what the numbers is. I think we've established that that's what it's going to cost to put on an air show. I cut this air show back heavily. In fact, I popped over budget when I brought in the F-18. Two things put us over $6,000 over budget, and that was the F-18 and the MOUs changed for the employees. Remember, we budget for this almost 18 months ahead of time, unlike anything else in the city because of where it falls in the year. So the MOUs changed, and there was some event pay that had to be paid, and that totaled up to about $1,600. $1,500, sorry.
So what did you say changed? The what?
The employee memorandum of understandings, the benefit packages for employees.
Okay.
Tends to happen about every 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
So, and they added a new thing called event pay.
Oh,
so
right.
if you're required to work an event.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Gordon.
I don't know if there was an innuendo or any. I don't know where you're going. When you talked about the air show and then you talked about the increase in industry like the one we have before us, do you get complaints of more traffic or more noise and all that?
No.
No? Okay.
Currently, we have 0 noise complaints at the airport at all. Every once in a while, we'll get a complaint that an airplane buzzed my cows. Well, what did the airplane look like? And you're really kind of talking to the wrong guy, because once the wheels leave the ground, they're the FAA's, not mine. But I'll help you. Give me the N number. Well, it was too far away and I couldn't see it. Okay. Do you have a picture of it? You got to give me something other than an airplane. I got 100 of them sitting out here. So I get those twice a year. What's funny is the National Guard Air Rescue guys, they'll come fly the C-130. We're one of their training routes. They'll come fly their C-130 and do touchdowns 4 times in a row, real low over town. Mm-hmm. And the phone calls we get is, that was cool, when's it happening again? I talk about that at airport manager meetings, and they're like, you guys, we would dream to get phone calls like that.
Try the C5. A lot of phone calls. Long time ago, though.
We've been trying to get a B-52 for the air show.
The 50 people to maintain it.
No, flyby only.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I can land that one.
Well, you could probably land it, but take it off is another
Yeah, we
story.
can land anything once, right?
Right.
It looked like it was landing. That was the problem. On the school.
I suppose you're looking for something from the commission as to whether we think this is a wonderful thing to keep doing. I think Commissioner Houston already said he thinks it's a wonderful thing to keep doing. Certainly,
I'd settle for positive or negative.
well, I mean, I understand the need to try to stay on the good side of the community. I'm just not sure the air show is doing it. But I don't know, I mean, the 4th of July thing, which I think you're going to talk about out here next, I guess, or next. That presumably is something that sort of appealed to the whole community and got a lot of people out here who probably just didn't even know where the airport was. And maybe, something like that is, in my mind, maybe a little more community-oriented. I'm just worried that the air show is mostly for us air show people, or the people that like air shows, the people that I'm not sure that it's reaching the community that we'd like to reach. And I just if it broke even, I would have no problem. or lost only a little bit. But I guess I have a problem that the city council, the city itself, seems not to want to support this. They don't sponsor. They're not a sponsor. I mean, as far as I know, they don't put any money into it. And I find that unfortunate that the city council feels that supporting their show financially, just as another sponsor, I mean, it carries the city's name, you know, and it's like, seems to me like the city ought to be one of the sponsors, but it doesn't seem to want to be. So I guess if I was to say I was going to support this, once again, I'd rather go to the city and say, look, we don't like seeing this much loss all the time. We'd appreciate it if the city would kick in a little support, a little financial support. That's just my opinion. I'm one person, but I'm just not pleased.
I know that you're on the tower during the show, and I know you don't get to walk through the crowds and see who's there. So
True.
Yes, you do have your aviation buffs there, but you have a lot of young families. There's a lot of 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds with their parents and grandparents. Our demographics are usually about half local, half out of town. So it does a pretty good job of attracting out of town folks. It's a decent mix of people. And you're right. I don't think we're going to attract somebody who doesn't like airplanes to an air show. I don't. I can tell you that everybody who's seen the air show thinks it's a great air show. I mean,
well, it is.
And most people keep coming back. I mean, our number did go up 200 instead of down 200. So,
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Go ahead.
My feeling, I guess I should say personal feeling, is that the airport's always been an enterprise account, so it has to survive on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of felt many times the city council felt that that's their problem or whatever. They are the governing body, but it's a quasi separate entity. It's the enterprise account.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at least some that I've talked to in the past, they kind of look at it as, and I'm not talking about the present council either, 'cause I'm not that tied into it. But in the past, it seemed like they're saying that's your problem, your baby, you do what you want with it. So if you want to lose, in this case, the money, so be it, you know. But I don't think they're going to back it as an enterprise account with financial help to the quasi brother or another entity. The other thing is that I think the majority, you know, you get to fly in, and I think we used to have more in the past that flew in. Maybe it's the economy or whatever it is. But I think those people are the ones that are feeder to us. They go back to their community. And they may not be the ones that are looking for industry here or a place to light, but they're also in the air industry, so their conversations are within those people. And they may overlap into an industrial situation where they said, why don't you look at Hollister? So that money spent, as I said, 2%. I wish it was less than that, but I don't think that's that bad at this dollar at this time. You know.
Okay. Anybody other commissioners have opinions they'd like to express?
I got a few comments I want to make.
You get a little closer there, Robbie.
No, I think when I was on the city council, I
Is the mic on?
was a big supporter of the air show. I think just the fact that it brings people into town. And I noticed this year there was a lot of airplanes that wasn't here last year wasn't here that were here this year. And I talked to a lot of guys working at gate that really enjoyed the air show. And I think it's good for Hollister. It brings a lot of people out here in Hollister. But I think one mistake we're making is we got the wrong date. Now, that air show up in the hills in the valley, every Father's Day, they all go there. Every Father's Day. Little small aircraft, that's where they go. And they still do. And I like to see it continue. I think $19,000 is not too bad. But if you talk to the guy across the street from me, he says we should take that $19,000 and fill the potholes in the city. So you're going to get a lot of arguments one way or the other. That's how I feel about it. I think it should be a go.
Okay.
And I think the city would go for it again at that price.
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, as Gordon said, it's an enterprise fund, so the city can't take that 19,000 and put it in potholes, because that's against the FAA rules. So, okay, well, that's sounds like 3 for it on my left. Or anything from the right side here?
Well, I'd like to entertain the idea of possibly having it every other year. And then maybe the people won't get so burned out on it. I don't know. There's different thoughts on that. Some people think that they're going to forget about it. It's not what happens every year. So, but looking at it from the standpoint of the percent of the budget it costs, I guess that's pretty reasonable.
So, some air shows do it every other year. The ones that survive that decision have the Blue Angels. Yes, it helps control costs because they only have the expenditure every other year, and they only have to do all that work every other year. In our case, I think it would kill it if you don't have something that people can plan on.
I agree. You know, Robbie had mentioned about changing the date again. I don't really agree with that, because we need to stick with our guns as far as a date. That way people can get used to, you know, hey, this is happening. It's not, well, what day is it happening this year? You know, the air show that Robbie's referring to is up in Columbia. Yeah, they have it every year. People are used to that every year. They go back to it every year. If Columbia continually changed the date of their air show, I don't think it would survive. So, I mean, we need to stick to our guns as far as what date it's going to be on.
And the other thing, I mean, I did intentionally put it on this date because of the Columbia fly-in. One of the problems that we would have is if we had 300 fly-ins coming to the airport. We really don't have parking for 300 fly-ins. We barely have parking for 30 fly-ins. Our max would be about 75 fly-ins. So by having it on that date, I kind of solved a problem that was always an unknown, because you don't know what's going to fall out of the sky, because we can handle the amount of planes that we're getting. We don't have a large ramp. Once you take the safety area out, and I mean, you go out there and look at it right now, it looks huge. But once you take a third of it out for the safety zone, and then another a third of it out for booths and seating, you really don't have that much room to park airplanes. So that is why it's on that date. I kind of chose that date on purpose so I didn't have to worry about fly-ins anymore. Because that would also kill it, is if we had 300 planes fall out of the sky and tell them, nope, you got to leave because we don't have a place to park yet. And that wouldn't be good either. So,
well, we used to years ago, not that long ago, but in the 80s and 90s, we used to pack that airport. A lot more airplanes than we had this year.
I'm sure you did, but once again, when you take a third of the ramp away for safety, and then you take out all the seating areas and everything else, I don't think we have as much room as you had in the 80s.
Robbie, you're referring to it wasn't an air, Robbie?
Pardon me?
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Back then, you were not having an air show, were you? It was just a fly-in, is that correct?
We had air shows.
You actually had an air show?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I don't believe back then we had the third of the airport safety zone. The regulations weren't as
Rules,
tight.
right. Yeah.
So we didn't have to close a third of the ramp.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I could push the ramp out, but we wouldn't be able to taxi the Mustangs in front of the crowd, which a lot of people love, or start them in front of the crowd, or any of that. I mean, a good amount of that third is so that we can do that.
Well, and you also have the motorcycles right there too.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to ask you, and this is more of a general question about economic impact. Mike, where do those numbers come from?
So to figure out an economic impact, you take the amount of money that's spent, and then you multiply it by a repeating factor. So how many times is that dollar going to get spent in the area before it leaks out? So you can be really conservative with your number, and you can be really not so conservative with your number. And there's different areas of thought. Mm-hmm. I am really conservative with the number, and our factor is 1.4.
Okay, so could you foresee that number being greater as time goes on with the development of the airport?
Absolutely. I could also argue that that number is probably greater now. Like I said, I took the most conservative number I could find, because I'm one of those guys that always reads numbers with a bit of skepticism, because where'd the magic factor come from? And there's really no science to it. It's a little hocus pocus. So that's why I went to the most conservative thing, because I don't want to be the guy crying wolf if the wolf's not at the gate. The other thing that could happen is eventually we may develop our way out of an air show. You know, if all of Ken Lindsay's property over there is developed and they're working on Saturdays and Sundays, and you know, because we have to close all those buildings to have an air show, and if we're displacing 1,000 workers, then I'm not sure. I've learned you never speak for the council, but I'm not sure the council would put it as big a priority on having the air show. So I don't view this as a permanent event. I view this as a temporary event until that vacant land is being used for a better item.
Well, I'm in agreement to have or to continue the air show. There's 2% of the budget. Okay. I'm in agreement.
Okay.
Where did you come from there, Fred? What was you were suggesting every other year, but which?
Yeah, I just threw that out there. I don't know if that would make that much difference. I don't know if we'd lose people if we did that or not. But we also, a few meetings ago, we talked about having just a fly-in. And that way you wouldn't have to deal with the FAA or close half the ramp and all that good stuff. But you'd have to really get the word out to get planes to fly in. You have to have planes to fly in for a fly-in. A lot of them.
Exactly.
And I don't know how you charge people to get in or out.
Well, I view a fly-in as a free event. That's what lots of those people did this weekend.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd have the public turnout in a regular flying. You might have more pilots and planes show up.
Yeah.
But as far as the general public to get them out here, I'm not sure they would be that interested in just coming out without, the military showing up or, the air show acts or any of that.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Well, it sounds like certainly the majority of the commission is in favor of continuing it at this loss level.
Okay.
So
I'll go ahead and finish my report for council, and I'll be presenting it on September 6th.
I think Dave had a question out there.
Oh, is there a question?
I have a statement, though. I will say that as a result of the air show, that I can't do anything. Oh, I do it right here. Dave Leonardo, Hall Jet Center. I will report that as a result of this air show, that I'm seeing an upsurge in starts, new people learning how to fly. It might be the economy getting better, but I think it's when they're seeing the airplane and they get familiar. People come out to the airport and become familiar. Once they become familiar, then they want some information. You see them at the fences, you see them come in the lobby asking questions and stuff, and we're seeing a lot more starts. I just hired another CFI just last week, so we're starting. I put a new engine in 172 in February, and we just did a 100-hour a week or so ago, the first 100-hour inspection. So it's flying. I'm seeing an upsurge, and I really believe that it started after the air show. People are asking questions, and again coming in and wanting to look at the airplanes, bringing kids, fathers and sons. The guy that just started here last week, his father and son team came in, wanted to learn how to fly, and I think part of it is and I think like my kid, I think it's when people the goodwill. In other words, this is a good thing. The airplanes are a good thing. Get the phone calls, and, hey, that was neat. When are they going to do it again? You know, I get the same phone calls. It blows me away. It's like you're expecting them to complain, and they're saying, hey, when are they going to do that again? Are you guys having another air show? In either case, I see it as a positive thing. Just want to look forward to that.
And a little comment, follow up, Leonardo, the other CFI on the airport that we know is also extremely busy. She's talked to me about having people coming out of the Bay Area to come down here to learn how to fly. She's flying,
Margaret.
yeah, she's flying 4 or 5 days a week, all day long. So there is, revenue being generated from outside area because of the air show.
So I can use a different factor? Up it to 5?
You can up it a little bit.
Up it to 5?
Yeah. 1.5.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay. If you don't need any kind of vote on this, but just the sense of the commission.
No,
is
I got the consensus of the commission, and I'll make sure my report reflects your feelings.
Okay.
All of them.
Okay.
One more comment on that.
Yes,
As long as you call the shots and run the air show, not the city council. They can sponsor it, but they don't know anything about air shows, so don't let them talk you into anything.
Well,
Just a comment.
Not a problem.
if he's not running this thing, it's a whole different ballgame. So,
Well, thank you for your faith.
well,
Okay.
yeah. Perhaps I should say that. On the condition that Mike Chambliss is the director of the air show, we can support it.
I second.
Okay. Well, all right.
Thank you all.
All right. Moving on. Item 8B. No, I'm sorry. 8C is 4th of July.
So we did something new this year. We moved the city fireworks show out to the airport. The few brave souls that braved the cold to come out on the ramp and enjoy our hospitality with our chairs thoroughly enjoyed the music that was offered out there on the ramp. The unfortunate thing was I made a decision that kind of made it hard for people to find it, I think, and the weather was very cold. So the majority of people stayed in their nice warm cars in the parking lot and over on the other side of the airport. They saw it, but it wasn't as good of an experience. So the fireworks are going to be out there again in 2017. So we're going to go ahead and do very similar things. I'll do a little logistical change so it's a little easier to find your way out to where the party is, and we're going to hope for great weather, and I think we'll have another great little event out at the air show, or out at the airport, sorry.
I don't know how many more people my hangar will hold, Mike.
Yeah, you had a pretty good party going. Yes. Oh, can I say something first?
Yes.
Of course, the Hollister Airmen's Association was out there braving the cold to help me wrangle these people and keep them away from the airplanes, and I'm eternally grateful for that.
Well, thank you. That's not why I was going to say something, but thank you anyway. There were a couple of suggestions. Number one, could you check the lights on some of the hangars, because it was awfully dark when they left, to be able to see to go out. Another thing was, could people come into the north end gate, because they
that would
came
be
all the way
open.
around, came all the way, it's a long way to walk.
Yeah. I had that closed so the P-51 Mustangs could operate, and next year we'll have them operate from the CAL FIRE area, and we'll have that open.
Well, people were very happy to see the planes. And
They were.
then They had a mini air show there, some aerobatics.
Well, no, there was no aerobatics.
Well, it was
There were some flybys.
Flybys, yes. But they were very happy about that.
Yes.
And
It was a nice treat.
it was a nice treat. As you say, they need to be guided out a little more because it does get dark out there.
It does.
It was freezing cold.
It was freezing cold.
I would like to see it start open at 8 rather than 7,
Okay.
7:30, because it's too long to stay out there that long in the freezing cold. What was the other thing? It's not your problem, but people were a little upset that there were not as many fireworks as they expected, and you could look out into town. You could look out south, and you could see a great fireworks show.
You know,
It's
you
not
could
your
see
fault.
both fireworks show from the location. I thought it was an added plus.
We could see Gilroy even.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, but it started off very slow, and the last 5 minutes were exciting. The first was kind of not. Or maybe we shouldn't even open at 8, maybe 8:30. There's a lot of sitting
okay.
around in the wind.
Well,
I have something up my sleeve.
Oh, you do.
I
And
do.
also the last thing was, people liked the music, and were hoping that the music would carry on when the fireworks were flying.
Yeah, that's a more expensive. Well, the music was playing when the fireworks were flying,
Well,
but
we didn't hear it.
it was more
It was
expensive.
subdued.
Well, once the fireworks show started in town, no one could hear anything.
Well, we could have heard it. We could hear
town?
it out there.
Yeah, it was quite the show.
Yeah.
wow.
I know my dog sure heard it.
It was quite the show.
Still haven't found it.
All right. Anything else on this topic?
Yeah, what did it cost the airport?
Nothing.
Nothing. Good. Okay.
No overtime?
No, I think there was maybe 2 hours overtime.
All right.
But I'm not sure I billed that to the airport. I think that went somewhere else.
I'm sure you smoothie it around some way. All right. Anything else on that?
That's
No?
it.
Okay. Item 8D, CAL FIRE.
CAL FIRE. So, as I alluded to earlier, I'm sure some of you remember, and some of you this will be new information for. Back in 1998, which was, I believe, 25 years after CAL FIRE landed at the airport in the 60s. No, I guess it was a little more than that, because I think CAL FIRE initial lease out there went in 64, I think was their initial lease. So back in 1998,
1960.
1960. Okay, so 38 years after they landed out there, CAL FIRE decided that they wanted to negotiate for 8 acres of land in the intersection of the runways on the other side. This has all kinds of positives for everybody. Number one, it gets them out of a dated facility into a state-of-the-art facility. It moves them from the end of the runway where they can't see any of the aircraft traffic on runway 24 out to the middle where they can see the ends of all 4 runways. It increases safety. They're going to double the size of there'll be 4 servicing pits instead of just 2, which would double the capacity. I mean, it's all positive things. But here we are in 2016, and they haven't done anything yet. I personally believe that part of the reasons why the Sobranos fire is as bad as it is because this base wasn't built. If this base was built, we could have handled the large jet no problem, and that large jet puts out 3 times the amount of retardant than the little one does. Every time it does 1 load, that's 3 loads of the little planes. So when I told them they can no longer come into our airport, they had to fly to Paso Robles. It was a half an hour to us. It was an hour to Paso Robles. So quite frankly, it cut their ability to drop retardant in half. So we've worked with our local the Assemblyman and the Senator to try to make this a priority for the world. We contacted the federal government and tried to get their assistance in making this a priority for the world, but the way the government works, it's a state issue item only, so only the state people can help. So I was brainstorming on how to perhaps accelerate this a little bit, and I got to thinking. I said, yeah, the base is in two legislatures' districts, but they cover 9 counties of California, which that works out to be about 56 legislatures' districts, including several which are on fire right now. So I decided at that point that I was going to go do a hard sell to those legislatures. Then I happened to be in a meeting with an individual who I know has access to all of those individuals. I mean, good access. They know each other. They meet on a regular basis. Happens to be a representative from the California Pilots Association. I was going to get there. She also operates an independent consulting firm. So I contacted her and said, you know, do your current commitments allow you to help me talk to these people? And is that something you're interested in? So I had a meeting with her, and she's actually very interested in it. And it would allow her current commitments to Cal Pilots Association and other things would allow her to do that. So basically, it works out to be a not-to-exceed contract for about $6,000 to help get me into these offices in Sacramento so I can give them the history and give them the hard sell to try to get pressure on this project to get this project off the ground and moving. I personally think this is our best shot at getting something to happen, and I'm recommending that we go ahead and do this professional services contract. I'm going to take it to council on September 6th, and what I would like is either a yay or nay from you folks on whether or not you support this idea.
I'll support it. I believe CAL FIRE is, you know, a benefit to the community and all the surrounding communities. And I'd personally, you know, love to see them stay here.
That's a no-brainer for me. Go for it.
Okay,
How much money?
6,000.
$6,000. It'll come out of the professional services line item of the budget. This isn't even a supplemental appropriation.
What counties are we talking about?
What's that?
What counties?
Santa Cruz, Monterey, San Benito, Santa Clara, San Mateo, Alameda, San Francisco, and then I get fuzzy once you go over the hills because I didn't live there. Sorry. Merced,
Fresno,
Stanislaus.
These are all counties that
Places I don't know where
that
are.
this CAL FIRE. These are the counties that this CAL FIRE base covers.
Yes. Basically, what I've been, the way you envision this is if you draw,
At least.
if you draw a line across the state of California horizontally, from the tip of the San Francisco Peninsula to the bottom of Monterey County, that's the section of the state that this base covers.
Well, but it doesn't cover the eastern.
Yeah, it actually, it is, they do have a lot of commitments over there too.
Well, because Columbia is a.
It is, but Yosemite is in their first response. That's why our aircraft was there.
Whatever.
Where's the next nearest base?
Paso Robles, Columbia, and
Is one at Red Bluff?
no, it's like Santa Rosa or
Somewhere
So there's nobody. There's
is it
nobody
Santa
direct
Rosa? I
east
think it's
from
Santa
us.
Rosa.
Well, Columbia is the only place. That's in the foothills, Sierra foothills.
Nothing out of Mather?
No, that's where their main base is. They do have reserve aircraft there, but they don't. As far as I know, they don't operate from there.
That's their maintenance, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's where they're building our new plane.
They have a new one?
Well, they're building it.
You mean an S2 or?
Yes.
Oh.
They took the last 5 airframes that they had on reserve at Davis Mothballs down in
Okay.
Arizona, and they're taking all 5 of them to put together one Frankenplane. And I don't know how they determine that there's more of this aircraft than this aircraft, but the aircraft that there's the most bits of Last flew in 1975. I actually read an article about it in Airplane magazine. I was surprised to see it in there. It's actually an English airplane magazine. They do a good job researching.
So this lady is a lobbyist?
She is a lobbyist for Cal Pilots, but she's also a consultant for airports.
Yeah.
She's connected. Yeah. So you want us to?
If I could get a vote to support or not support, or
yeah.
I would so move.
A second.
Hold on.
I'd like to hear the motion again.
No, I know nobody actually made the motion.
I'd like to make a motion to spend approximately $6,000 for the high-collar consultant for
the purpose of
versus CAL FIRE.
getting support for moving the CAL FIRE base.
Well, I said versus whatever you want.
I mean, that's the objective of this.
the objective is to make this project a priority for the state of California to bring it to completion.
Right.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's what you were going to say,
That's what I
Gordon?
said. I was gonna add that too.
We're connected.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was been moved. Did somebody second it?
I second Gordon.
Okay, Steve, second. Okay, to support this contract to help make the CAL FIRE base move a priority for the state. Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Expedite. That's the word I was looking for.
Okay. All right, item 8E, trailer parking.
Nothing to report.
They're still over there, at least
I've
two
been
of them.
busy.
Okay. All right. Item 8F, skydiving operation.
I'm not sure exactly. I think you wanted a general report on how they're doing in their new location. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. So they seem to be settling in nicely. We've had a couple of, I wouldn't use the word emergency, but issues with the facilities over there. I think the water heater pressure release valve let go or was leaking, so we had to put a new one of those on the water heater. And I think there was some work we had to do to get it fit for habitation. But they seem to be doing a bang-up business. Everybody over there is happy. I've just saw the owners, one of the owners yesterday. She was in a great mood and skateboarded into the mailbox. And so I think all in all, things are going smoothly out there.
Good.
They pull up to Dave's fuel pumps on a regular basis. So I think all things are well with skydiving.
Yeah. Traffic in and out of the airport's a little easier.
Yeah. No one's changed in front of my windows in months.
Sorry.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
What about the gliders?
That's not on the agenda. Not on the agenda.
What was the question?
About the gliders?
Gliders, oh.
Put it on the next agenda.
Okay. All right, well, anyway, at this point, that's it for old business. There seems to be no new business. Next would be items for next agenda, item 10. I would presume that
Follow up on Congressman Zero.
yeah, I circled the wrong one. Well, the lease at 2000 Aerostar. See how that's coming along,
Okay.
the construction. I'd like to hear kind of regular on that, personally. I guess there's nothing more on taxiway maintenance. So then the AIP, we'll still want to just see if anything changes on that. CAL FIRE, how that goes. Trailer parking. And I guess there's a request to hear how the glider operation's doing.
What about the master plan?
Well,
I can do that.
Yeah, master plan too. Yeah, that would be a good point.
I think the project got approved yesterday.
We got a grant or something for that, didn't we? Yeah.
Yesterday.
Oh, okay, master plan. Anybody else have any other?
Could we have just a
topics?
slight report on what, every time we go out there, I see those vacant buildings dilapidated. Can we have a little report of what our inventory is of empty buildings, I guess?
Okay.
Dilapidated buildings, whatever.
I like to have a report on the restaurant. Oh, that's coming along for the next meeting.
Yeah, that's one of the dilapidated buildings.
Abandoned buildings, is it?
Yeah, abandoned or.
Okay.
When I first came on the commission was many moons ago, my objective was to get rid of all World War II buildings.
Your objective was what?
To get rid of all the World War II
Get rid of
buildings.
them?
Yeah.
Have to get rid of the Elks Club.
The what?
Have to get rid of the Elks Club.
Well, there's some exceptions.
And the restaurant.
Well, I mean, that was just
In
a
my
statement I
office.
made years ago because
Well.
you couldn't fix the roof to charge the rent enough to pay for the roof. So what are we?
Yeah, we
what are
had a
doing?
discussion about that one on the Elks Club. Yeah, well,
And that's what I'm talking about is
okay.
on the agenda.
All right. We can discuss those. Anything else? Anybody else would like to see discussed at the next meeting? If you think of something later, talk to Mike. I'm sure he'd be happy to put it on. All right. There being no further items to discuss, the next meeting date is September 28th, 2016, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Who was that? Who moved? Okay.
Second.
Robbie and,
To remind you that
What
our
is this?
70th anniversary display is still at the library until the end of the month in the lobby of the exhibit case. Just to remind you.
okay. It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn.
I didn't get the second.
Oh, Gordon, was what Gordon seconded. Yeah. Moved and seconded that we adjourn the meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.